Hello, everybody. Welcome to, oh my gosh, I forgot to talk. Welcome to Ryan and Brian Talk Sports. I had to clear my throat there. As always, with Ryan Props, presented by, I guess I should say, sponsored by Pickett Sports. Ryan, I feel like it's been way longer than a week since I last talked to you, but how are things going?
It actually, that's funny you say that. It does feel like that.
Yeah,
Everything's
it's,
pretty good. I kind of chilled out a little bit on betting this weekend. I know you did as well.
I haven't placed a bet since Friday morning. It's been
Yeah,
wild.
that's wild. I didn't quite do that, but I slowed down on plays a little bit. The past 4 days or so just weren't great. Baseball got. I was having a really good baseball season. I mean, I overall I still am, but past few days were definitely very humbling. I'll say. So it's time to get that all figured out for sure.
Yeah, I think I texted you. What was it? Thursday or no, Wednesday, Thursday, and then a little bit into Friday. I was kind of tracking and like the strikeout props where I usually, you know, like to live. I was actually having a decent season, and then I got killed my first day going more than like three plays. I went four, and it was one of those things where just everything that could have went wrong did go wrong. And I was
Oh,
kind of tracking it, and yeah, everyone talks about regression or talks about variance. The strikeout prop market was heavily leaning over for most of the year. But since Wednesday, you're talking it's like a 70-30 split on overs to unders. Like a lot more unders are cashing, which is very interesting to see that kind of how it's flip flopping a little bit there.
no doubt, no doubt. And this slate is interesting because I like before I went to bed last night, I was peeking through it on DraftKings. They had a lot of the lines open. I was like, man, this is a really nice looking pitching slate right now. So like, I taking what you said into account, I really wanted to kind of take it slow with pitchers and see if this kind of comes back around or if I should really start to target some unders. But I have three K props, all are overs, so
Oh
maybe I'm
Lord,
stubborn. We'll
this could be
see.
crazy. So we have MLB first, but before I don't know. We'll just go around MLB because I have a trivia question for you, but
Can't wait.
it's an NBA thing, so I can't do trivia early. It's going to ruin the whole thing. So we'll start with NBA, MLB. I mean, how many MLB props do you have? I have two.
Three.
So you can start. We can go one, two. We can do a little zigzag here. So you can start.
Okay. So overall, I have seven plays today, which
Jeez
is, I
Louise.
believe this is a career high for this show. This is, I believe, the most plays I've ever had on one of our shows. So, analysis of each pick, I kind of turned it down just a little bit. I don't,
Thank God.
yeah, no shit. We'd have been here for a little while. So, tone down the analysis just a little bit. So I'll just kind of throw a few talking points out there, let you guys know, what I'm liking about this, and then we'll move on. The first one will actually start shortly after this show. Became very popular. Took it last night. It was actually a collab with Moosey from our Discord. Tanner Beebe over 5.5 strikeouts. I know you'll touch on him at some point here as well. I really like this one. I mean, Detroit's a pretty wonderful matchup anyway around it, but they're really, really bad in away games. They average over 10 strikeouts a game in away games. They have the fourth worst batting average in away games. So, ideally, he doesn't really get himself in too much trouble. Beebe's had a nice start to his MLB career. He started off his debut. He had 8 strikeouts. Then he followed up with five. He gets debatably his softest matchup yet. So the Tigers have the fourth highest K rate versus right-handed pitching over the last 15 days. So nice spot to target them. And he's got a really nice long history of strikeouts. Pretty much everywhere he's gone, he's had a lot of. We just got Yoke news. Will not be suspended. Okay, I thought it said he would be suspended. BB had 19 strikeouts and 15.1 innings in the minors this year. He has 13 so far and 11 MLB innings so far this year. He has 186 strikeouts in 148 innings in the minors overall. He has two pitches that are really, really generating whiffs that I like a lot. His slider and his changeup are both 38.5% whiff rates or better. So the sample size is pretty small, but strikeouts is something that's followed him throughout his career, really wherever he went. So, and when I saw this Detroit lineup, I felt even better about it. I meant to kind of shop around while I was talking. I know FanDuel still has a playable. I believe it's like minus 126. I wanted to check 365. Probably only three of you listening have it.
There's
Yeah,
actually there's actually only three people listening in total.
yeah,
So
that's true. That's true. Well, hopefully you all have 365. It's minus 125 there. It's minus 150 on DraftKings. That's a little too juicy for me, but I'd imagine anybody listening should have FanDuel, and it's minus 126 there, which is very playable. Due to limits, I don't personally use MGM, but I think it's always a nice place to check. They seem a little to adjust a little later than the rest of the market in some of these. So double check MGM if that's a book that you have in your arsenal. But yeah, Tanner Beebe over 5.5 strikeouts versus the Tigers. That'll get started shortly after the show ends.
That's a 640 game, which is the one I want to also start with. I want a different approach here, and funnily enough, you can get better odds than I got earlier, which is normally not how this works. But I will say it comes with a little bit of a I guess you want to say catch, because the Cleveland Guardians lineup they put out is not at all what I was hoping for. I played this early. What I did, fun fact, I'm glad you went first. I took an alt same game parlay of Tanner Bibee, which is how you pronounce it. Fun fact there.
I don't care.
It is Bibee, and I took Bibee's 5+ strikeouts, and I parlayed it in the same game parlay fashion with Joey Wentz under 4.5 strikeouts. And so this is one of those things where I actually was sold this morning that it would be David Fry's first start of his big league career. And I was like, okay, if Fry starts at catcher, if Fry gets a start, then we get to avoid the horrible blind deaf Mike Zunino matchup. But the Guardians decided to give Fry his first start against a lefty, but they put him at first, leaving Zunino still playing. So I thought, I would get Fry, who's don't know what you're getting yet because first start, but at least it would take Zunino out. But I don't like the fact that they played both of them together. So as you know, the Guardians don't strike out much, 20.8% strikeout rate against lefties. I actually was going to do a Bibee type player performance double, like 5 strikeouts and a win. But despite not striking out, the Guardians offense against lefties is kind of like hot dog water. It's kind of bad. They're hitting like 220. So I didn't really trust the offense as much. So I'm trying this out for a great price. The one thing we have going our way is that Joey Wentz is bottom 25 percentile in like strikeout rate. His whiff rate's not good. His velocity's not good. So I'm not super worried about him overpowering hitters and just striking out a lot of people. The only worry I have is I do not like that Fry is getting his first start, which could be a wild card because either one way or the other. The biggest person I'm worried about is Mike Zunino, who at this point in his career, he's either striking out or walking when he gets to the plate. He's not making great contact.
He doesn't even hit homers anymore like he used to.
I talk about this all the time with Krusty K's. His walk rate is like 25%, and his strikeout rate is like 44%. Like quite literally, like 60-70% of his at bats, he's either taking a free base or striking out. It's wild. His contact is just not there. So that's the biggest thing is if Wentz goes 6 innings, he's going to see Mike Zunino twice, and because he's batting 7. The only way I could see Wentz going over is if Zunino just gives him 2 really easy strikeouts. So that's the one thing we have to avoid because you have guys like Kwan, Rosario, Ramirez. A lot of these guys in the front of the lineup don't strike out a lot. I mean, you're talking 11% strikeout rate, 13 and 13 for the first 3 batters. So they don't strike out a lot. The only thing is like I said, Arias and Zunino. Those are just 2 guys that I have to hope that Wentz hits him or something. I need him to like hit Zunino with a pitch because if he doesn't do that, he's probably gonna strike out.
Yeah. Well, it is at the end of the day, it is Wentz. So maybe just maybe he'll hang in.
I mean, he's not good. He's only gone over this 4.5 twice in this season, and one of them if it's against the Giants. And if you're a lefty against the Giants, you basically just get a free pass for six or more strikeouts.
Yeah. Is David Fry a big prospect for Cleveland?
Not really. He's not doing well. He's really struggling. I mean, Detroit's supposed to be, they had all these exciting pitching prospects, but they really haven't been panned out, whether it's injuries or Wentz throwing meatballs. It's really just not ideal. So I'm really hoping that despite the lineup not being great, I do think that asking for 5 is just a little much, even for a little bit watered down of a lineup I was hoping for.
Yeah, I mean, there's really only a few guys here that are scaring us. I mean, like you said, Zunino and then Arias, who's batting.
That's the 2 guys.
The other
I'm not even
fine. Well, we don't know about Fry yet, but
yeah, but I'm not super worried because I mean, Fry is supposed to be. He's supposed to be great. He's supposed to be really exciting. So I just need him to, square something up here, not swing and a miss. But yeah, Joey Wentz is just not a guy that I'm super worried about. The only thing that he can get over this line is, like I said, if Zunino just like I am actually not going to really follow this game much, but I will follow like the second inning to see Zunino's bat because that's going to determine it.
You can emotional hedge and get on FanDuel and do like the plate appearance and go back
That's
strike
true.
out with Wentz on the mound. It's probably plus 200. Well, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
it might not be that high, but you can
So
do a
I
little
just need some
emotional hedge.
contact. I just need some contact, man. Let's just get some contact in this place. And like I said, it's going to be one of those things where if he goes over, I'll just live with it because this is not a strikeout pitcher going into a really contact heavy lineup. I like this idea because the player performance doubles have been going not as well recently in terms of getting the strikeouts and then, up 4-0. And then all of a sudden I look at the score and it's like a 7-4 game somehow.
Yeah.
So I'm trying this out where I'm leaning the Guardians here. So rather than doing the money line, I'm just going to fade the pitcher for the Tigers and ride Bybee for the Guardians.
Nice. Sounds like a plan. All right. We like Tanner Bibby for sure tonight. I'll go
Bybee,
ahead.
yeah.
I'm going to move on to my next one. This one is first at bat. Strikeout is plus 200. Thanks, Moose, for letting us know that. I'm going to move on to my next play. This is another one I took overnight, so odds are a little bit better. So you're kind of stuck with Caesars on this one. It's minus 127 on Caesars. Everything else is kind of borderline unplayable, but Mitch Keller over 5.5 strikeouts was one that it caught my eye. Like I said, last night before I even went to bed, I went ahead and added to this one. He's been really good this season. And I've really been enjoying his breakout, and it feels pretty legit too because he did face the Reds twice, but outside of that, he's had a really, really tough schedule that included Boston, Houston, St. Louis, who stinks but doesn't really strike out, and the Dodgers and at Tampa. So, to hang with those offenses and still have a pretty good ERA, really nice strikeout numbers is pretty substantial in my opinion. I wanted to get on board the Keller train last year, but I just couldn't grow to trust him. And I think we're seeing, a guy that you can grow to trust. Obviously, he's going to go under sometimes, but maybe he'll be in our little circle of trust here. He's been good to me so far this season, so let's see if he can do it again. Nice matchup versus the Rockies. Rockies obviously are pretty dangerous at home, but away from home, they're batting .228, which is the sixth worst in the league. And they average 9.63 strikeouts a game away from Coors, which is fifth worst in the league. So, they're a really nice target. Mitch has a 27.9% K rate through 40.2 innings, which is 74th percentile in the MLB. He's hitting 5-7, including 2 of 3 at home. So, nice spot. I'm not sure we see 5-5 lines for him forever. He seems like a guy that has the potential to graduate to that 6-5 line this year. So let's go ahead and grab him before he does that.
Yeah, I like that. He's been stellar, which is he's always kind of had those starts in years past where he makes you feel like, oh wow, this guy could be something, but it's always been kind of rocky. And then this year he's really just come out and he's been great. So I like
facing
that.
the Rockies. So that was good.
Yeah, no, it's a good look. I think that's a good one. It's what I looked at. I actually hate myself for my next play, and
nice. We like those plays.
I gave it out in the Discord early because I thought so. It's one of those ones where I thought maybe it would move a little bit, so I wanted to post it earlier. So people did get better lines because I posted it in the Discord at minus 125. Right now, the best odds is on Superbook, which is no one probably even has that. It's minus 135.
What state is that even in? Do you know?
They're in a no, I don't know because I Superbook's supposed to be like this whatever. It's supposed to be great, but I just never really got into it. But FanDuel has a minus 143 or minus 144 according to Pickett Sports. I like it. Like I like it up to minus 150. But my thing is that with that much juice, I would probably lower the stake, and rather than risking to win a unit, I would just play a unit. If that makes sense. So rather than say risk 1.5 units if it's minus 150, just play it for a unit and just minimize the risk a little bit. But I am trusting Dylan Cease, and if you are new to the show, I think me and Ryan, who just kind of got up and left there, me and Ryan have I think we have a really big love-hate relationship with Dylan Cease, and I'm at the point where it's turning into kind of hate.
Oh yeah.
He's just been bad. Like I think the reason he gets on my nerves is because I think he's a stellar talent. He's got amazing stuff, and he just is stubborn with it. Where if his slider's off, he will not. If he's up 0-2, he will waste like 3 sliders in a row rather than realizing like if he's not locating the slider rather than accepting it and just throwing some heat to mix in on some of his at bats, he will not care. Like he'll hit you right in the face with a slider before he realizes that it's not for him. He hasn't gone over this line in 3 straight games. Oh, actually, he went over it last game. So he had like a 3-game spurt where he was kind of just doing a lot of nothing. Last game he got to 6, but he didn't have a good like his ERA this year is pushing 5, which is crazy to me.
He had like a 2.3 or something last year. It was freaking
Yeah.
incredible.
He's at a 4.6 this year. So he did get 6 last week against Minnesota. He got to
Yeah.
6, and it was same with the last time I played Minnesota. It was still a rocky ride to get there. But the 3 starts before that, he had 5, 5, and 3. So he really kind of fell off the wagon hardcore.
Yeah.
But I've been targeting the Royals a lot this year because the Royals are a team where we talk about how the Guardians have a lot of people that don't strike out. The Royals front load. They have 3 guys that aren't striking out at all. You know, like they have Wilt, they have Vinny, they have guys that don't strike out at all. But then they're bottom of the lineup when they have Massey, they have Prado in, they have Meldonez in. They always will have 3 or 4 guys that are striking out like a 35% clip. So there's enough guys in this lineup where he should be able to get Massey twice. He probably gets Prado once or twice. Like these guys we're talking, I think Prado this year off the top of my head, I believe is 39% strikeout rate against righties. And
38.9.
that was close. Damn it. I'm sorry about that, guys.
Joke
But
artist.
yeah, but I just think it's one of those things where if Dylan Cease is getting a 5.5 line, I almost just accept that I could lose this. But this is a guy that is used to getting 7.5 lines or 8.5 lines at sometimes.
Yep.
And 5.5 against this lineup, I will ride every single time.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I kind of sat this one out. Now I'm missing out on the good, or I missed out on the good odds. It feels like this year's an absolute disaster. And it's funny, he still has a 26.2% K rate, which for him is really bad. For the league, that's fucking great. Like,
Yeah.
So it feels like Dylan at his absolute worst has still been at least a K guy. He's been all right with the strikeouts, and obviously, the potential's there. I mean, he's got some of the nastiest stuff in the league, and he went on a stretch last summer that was just, Zach Gallen like, where he wasn't giving up runs at all. He was striking out what felt like 10 guys every game. I think that's coming. I think that's, I think we see that Dylan Cease again at some point this year. So, not a bad time to kind of hop on the train here.
I will say I haven't lost with them yet. So I would hate it more if I was chasing his strikeout line. I played him twice early in the year, and then I kept trying to figure out when to buy low again. And last week he was a 6.5 line, so he hasn't cleared his line in a while. But against this Royals team, I mean, I just feel like there's too many guys in there that are swinging garden hoses, and I will ride the fact that Dylan Cease can hopefully just put together. Someone in the chat asked if he's still drinking Red Bulls in between innings. I hope not. He keeps saying that he's over caffeinated and his control is suffering, and then he's chugging Red Bulls, and that's on him. But I just think asking for 6 for a guy that has his kind of stuff, and as you said, 26.5 strikeout percentage is nothing to sneeze at. I mean, it's something where asking for 6 with a 27% strikeout, 26% strikeout rate is not much at all, like in that terms. But he's just been kind of really disappointed to start the year.
Yeah, this when I first saw it, it felt like a bit of an overreaction. Granted, I guess the numbers do kind of warrant it, but at the same time, you just don't see Cease at a 5.5 very often, if ever. So, great time to kind of hop aboard and see if you can catch a nice buy low and ride him back to the top, because you got to figure he becomes good again at some point. But it's really hard to say. I mean, you touched on it a little earlier. If he has a guy down 0-2, you're going to be, and you have his strikeout props, you're going to be miserable watching the next moment of the game, because
he can take a guy like Prado 0-2 and it should be like a 4-pitch strikeout, and he'll strike him out, but he'll take like 9 pitches. He's very.
He fucking loves going 0-2 and walking dudes too.
So I am just trusting the fact that Dylan Cease will, I guess you could say, figure it out. Like I think he's got to figure it out. And a guy with his kind of stuff, I mean, it might not be the most popular play, but from what I've seen, I've been talking to people, and I think there's a lot of people. I talked to Nick Larson, and I talked to Krusty Case, who's a big White Sox guy. but it's just one of those props where I almost would rather lose on a great discount for Dylan Cease than to sit it out against the Royals and check in and see that he is like 8 or 9. I just think it's one of those things where he's been up and down, but I'm trusting him to get right today.
Yeah, I don't blame you at all. My next and final play is, man, probably my favorite non-Philly player to watch in the entire league. I watched him 2 starts ago, and I said we can pretty much kiss the 6.5 lines away. Those are gone. We'll never see him again. Then we have one today. So Zach Allen over 6.5 strikeouts today versus the Marlins. It's really hard to put into words how good this dude has been at home. Holy shit, dude. He's got 20.1 innings. They're scoreless. He hasn't given up an earned run in those 20 and 1/3 innings. This man has 34 strikeouts in those 20.1 innings. So he has double-digit strikeouts in all 3 of his home starts. He's over in 5.7 overall for the season. Just absolutely elite. There's not really many people matching his strikeout stuff right now. So he's 95th percentile in K rate, 85th percentile in whiff rate, 76th percentile in chase rate. He's got a 32.2% K rate so far. His curveball and his changeup are just so nasty. His curveball is inducing whiffs at a 47 percentage rate, which is almost hard to comprehend. And then the changeup's 39.3. And this is a team that does not do so hot against curveballs. So it's a nice weapon to have. Miami's pretty close to league average as far as like Ks per game and stuff like that. I think a lot of that's due to Luis Arez, who actually I think has struck out a couple games in a row. So maybe we'll get one off.
Which is crazy to think about. I mean,
Absolutely.
what's the guy hitting like 800 now? Like it's crazy. I think he's average over 400, doesn't strike out. It's wild stuff.
I think with his 3 strikeout performance in the last 3 days, his K rate is now up to like 6% on the year. So I mean, he's really just, he's the one guy that I guess I won't anticipate too much out of. There's some other decent hitters like Yuri Gurriel. Jeez, I can't say this name. Gurriel, thank you. Is he's a lower K guy. Gene Segura is not a huge K guy, but there is also some guys that are like incredibly massive strikeout targets. So which you start off the top, and Arez I'd imagine will bat third, but 1, 2, 4 should all be amazing targets. So Jazz Chisholm, Jorge Soler, and then Jesus Sanchez are all 29.4% K rates or higher, including Jazz, who's almost 40%, which is insane. So
Jazz and it's Jazz and Buxton. Those are the two guys in the league that hit leadoff and they strike out all the time. It's
unbelievable,
amazing talents, but their strikeout rate is surprising.
Yeah, no doubt. And they are as a team, they're a little bit more prone to strikeouts on the road as well. So I think they average about 8.8 per game on the road, which isn't really terrible, but going against one of the strongest K guys in the league at a 6.5 number, and especially now you can get it at plus odds right now, which, I mean, give me that all day long, all fucking day long. I love Zach Allen. I love watching Zach Allen. I love watching Zach Allen when I have money on him. So he's cashed for me twice this year in 2 tries. Let's see if we can go 3 for 3.
Someone asked if you would sprinkle a ladder on Zach Allen.
Thought about it a lot. I've kind of stalked the ladders a little bit lately.
It's also tougher with the 6.5 base.
Yes, I do prefer to ladder guys that start around 4.5 traditionally, but I mean, shit, we've watched him cash a full ladder in 3 of 3 home starts, so it's kind of hard to say no. I think I have a harder time laddering strikeout props than I do NBA plays, because NBA plays I don't mind going up the 3 rungs, like you have the base and then the 2 rungs after that. With K props, like doing 5 or 6 different bets on the same guy, it's really hard to do that. Keep your unit risk down and still make it worth your while, if that makes any sense. Like, this might sound a little bad, but I don't really want to put $2 on a plus 600. Like, I'd rather just, if anything, bet the base heavier. Like, I'd rather just go 1.5 units on the base with strikeout prop ladders. I'll still break it out every once in a while, but and this is definitely a spot where I don't mind you doing that.
I like that. I think that's a good thing. I think Nick did a whole ladder, which I don't agree. I don't disagree with that at all. I think it's a great spot for ladder. I just think it's, like I said, it's always tougher when you're getting that 6.5 base, especially because Strikeout props, you're talking about each strikeout you ladder up, you're talking about a 20% change in the line. Like, it's not like basketball where like the difference between 25 points and 30 points is probably about the same percentage wise as one strikeout. So it's kind of relative because you only get say 26 batters a game. So each time you need a strikeout for a ladder, you're talking about getting like a plus 100, and then the second rung would be plus like 210, but you are getting like a what 23% increase in the line. So it just sometimes feels a little iffy with strikeout props because they can be so fine.
Yeah. And like when you finally do catch that, when you finally catch the guy that is starting to climb the ladder, and he cashes two above his base, and it feels fucking awesome. It's a great feeling. But then you look down and he's only like plus 270 for 9 strikeouts. I think the value is just a little harder to find with strikeout props, which is why I'm
Yeah.
a little more uptight with the ladder. I don't break it out as often. Whereas, a guy with a 14-5 line, them scoring 25 in the NBA is not that far out of the realm of possibility. And oftentimes it's going to be plus 700 or maybe even all the way up to plus 1,000. So I think the NBA is a little bit better of a place to do ladders, but that's not to say they don't belong in MLB. I just don't use them as frequently, I guess is all I'm getting at.
So that was your last MLB play, right?
It was, yeah. That's all 3 of mine.
So we can move on to NBA. There's 2 games on tonight.
Oh yeah.
First off, wearing a Phillies hat. Crazy game yesterday for the Philadelphia 76ers.
Oh
I
my
think
God.
I think I lost a few years off my life, but before we kick off NBA slate today with 2 games, I have a trivia question for you.
Nice.
Joel Hans Embiid has played 444 career games. Yesterday was 444th. Do you know how many people have scored 40 or more points in that time frame with Joel in those games?
2 times.
Harden was the first yesterday.
He was the first ever.
Harden was the first person in the Joel Embiid era. Don't look anything up because there's a second part to this question. He was the first person in the Joel Embiid era to score 40 points in a game that Joel was in.
Wow.
Happened once. But in the time that Joel Embiid's been a Sixer, how many times have somebody scored 40 plus points? Not including Harden, like not including last game. So like just overall. So that means that Embiid wasn't in the game. How many times have a Sixer scored 40 or more points?
0.
2. Can you name who they were? So in Embiid's entire career here, 2 people have scored 40 points in games that Joel Embiid did not play. Can you name them?
I think I remember a Ben 40 spot, but I don't know if Joel was playing in that game. I think it was versus Utah. Ben dropped 40. Is that
42? 42 for Ben, and
was it versus Utah?
I forget, but that was one of them.
Yeah.
And who was the other?
I feel like this next one's going to be really off the wall, like somebody that I haven't even thought about in a little while. I can imagine it's not Tobias Harris. Yeah, somebody mentioned Maxey. Maxey would be a damn good guess. I can't remember a time that he's actually pulled it off.
It was Maxey.
It was Maxey. Okay, good deal.
Happened this year, I believe. Tyrese Maxey put up 44 once. I think it was this year. He had a crazy game that game. So it was Tyrese, but isn't that crazy? In Joel Embiid's entire career, Maxey and Ben Simmons are the only 40-point players until Harden yesterday.
That's wild, dude.
I had to do research because I saw a tweet and it was one of those things where I was like, is this guy trolling? Is this like a real thing? There's no way that's true. And I looked it up. Yeah, it was Harden and Maxey. Harden was the first person to do it with Embiid, and then only 2, which was Maxey and Ben Simmons. But yesterday was the first time that Embiid was playing in a game that someone scored 40, which is fuck that, dude. I was blown away because I saw this. If you're a Sixers fan, follow President Embiid, Prez on there. Great follow, but I had to check like 3 different places because I thought it was wow. But that's wild. That's crazy that's a real thing because Embiid's been around. It's not like a few years. You're talking like 7 years. That's a wild.
Yeah,
it's a wild thing.
Ginger Snap said, I forgot Ben could score at one time could score more than 10 or 15 points. I mean, if you watch his like rookie tape, his highlight tape, I mean, everything was there. It was all there. I mean, obviously, well, I shouldn't say everything because obviously the shooting was never there, but that wasn't really that huge of a factor. I still wanted him to pull, when he was wide open, but he was so good it didn't really matter. And just
Yeah.
every year he just got, I guess, a little less confident, and then he just became
Yeah.
uh, almost what feels like a head case and just lost all of his ability slash confidence, and now he's just a full on shell of himself.
So
I don't know what the hell's going
So
on.
that was my segue in NBA. So either that's A, really fun trivia for everyone listening, or B, really depressing trivia for any Sixers fans out there.
Yeah, okay.
But we can move in. There's two games, two good games. You got the Heat and the Knicks on first. Do you want to tackle that game first for your any plays in that game, and then we can go to the late game?
Yeah, for sure. So first game I have 2 plays, second game I have 2 plays. So going fairly heavy. Fingers crossed we don't end up with blowouts. Maybe I'm a little excited after the two just incredible games yesterday. But I don't really see a Knicks and Heat blowout in this one. I feel like this one's going to be pretty close. I feel the same about the late game, but I think there's a little bit more blowout potential. We'll see about that. But first play is a little bit more of an anticipation play than the numbers. I'm going to go Jimmy Butler over 28.5 points. We haven't really had the Jimmy Butler performance yet so far in this series. He's only played in 2. The first game he was really efficient, but he didn't shoot that often. I think he only took 15 shots. Last game he comes back. He's kind of shaking off a little bit of an injury, a little bit of rust. That was the first game of the entire postseason where he shot under 50%. So, and I love the volume. He took 21 shots. He had double-digit free throws. So at home, up 2-1, they really, really would love to go back to New York, up 3-1 rather than tied 2-2. So this feels like a nice like Jimmy Butler blow up spot. I think he returns to the efficiency that we've seen pretty much every single game this postseason. There's still no Tyler Hero. There's still no Oladipo. I don't think 40 minutes, 20 shots, and double-digit free throws is that far out of the realm of possibility for Jimmy. Maybe 18 shots, but if he gets that kind of volume, I'm pretty comfortable that'll hit this number. So, like I said, a little bit more of an anticipation thing, like kind of anticipating his breakout. The numbers in the series don't necessarily support it as much, but I'm not too opposed to kind of hitting a chalky over, whether they've been hitting it or not. The playoffs, man, these guys go bananas some games and then shit the bed others, of course, but it's nice when you catch the bananas game, and I think this has has a Jimmy Butler game written all over it, in my opinion.
So it's funny you mentioned that, because are you aware with like how Twitter and gambling in general, all the eyes are on this idea that Anthony Davis goes off one game, sucks the next, goes off, sucks the next. Like,
The numbers are there.
it's a whole thing. So this is one that I've played twice in the playoffs, and I think it's the one no one's talking about. Everyone's talking about the zigzag with AD. I am playing Jalen Brunson over 24.5 points, minus 125, MGM, Camby Books, and on Caesars. And here's the thing. So here's my thing. I have it pulled up. I'll put it in the Discord later when I do my write up. But so far in these playoffs, he's not as bad as AD's zigzag, right? But in the last few games, right, he scored 21, 29, 23, 25, 30, 20, right? But the big thing there is that against the Heat against the Cavs, he scored 21 points, but he missed every single 3-point shot. He was 0 for 4 from 3. The next game, I took his threes and his points. He had 29 points. He made 5 threes. Then the next game, 23 points, he made 2 threes. First game against the Heat, he scored 25 points, but he was 0 for 7 from 3. So the next game, I took his over, thinking, okay, if he hits 1 3, he's right there with the volume.
Yeah.
Next game, he scored 30 points, made 6 threes. And then flashback game 3, he scored 20 points, 0 for 5 from 3. So in the same sport, in theory, I am taking Jalen Brunson's over after he is coming off a game where he's bricked every single shot from 3. Because the 3-point volume has been there. He's taking at least 5 a game. But when he comes off a game where he 0 for 7, 0 for 4, 0 for 5 from 3, it just seems in the next game, I don't know if it's like a pressure thing or what it is, or maybe they sag off the coverage a little bit more, but he is just going off in games where he struggled the day before. So he's always, even when he's struggling from the line, struggling from the 3-point mark, he's still getting that 20 plus. He's always in the realm of possibility there. But if you're telling me I need 25 points and all I need him to do is to hit one or two of those 5 to 7 threes, I'm all over it because he's getting a
Yeah, yeah.
20. He's getting a 20 even without any threes. And Jalen Brunson's also playing 40 minutes a game. He's shooting the ball 20 times a night. There's enough volume in that offense to be passed around between him, Randall, and Barrett that I think he benefits a lot from this because he avoids any kind of coverage with Butler or Bam. And on the switches, he's just so quick that even if they do switch off of the Bam or with the Butler, he's so quick to get to the rim that I just think he's a guy in this game where I've been attacking guard play against the Heat for a lot of the playoffs, and I'm not going to stop here. So I think it's a good look.
Yeah, yeah. I love watching Brunson. He's another one of those guys like Zach Allen. I love watching Brunson. I love watching Brunson when I have money on him. He's just a fun player to watch. This actually sat around 25-5, I thought, a lot of the day, at least when I was on book. So to catch 24 and a half, I definitely like
It's
that.
still 24.5 too on
Yeah.
Caesars MGM all those books.
Yeah,
I
I
will
like
say if you also are aware or follow me for a while, I have this weird theory where I used to have a friend that works for FanDuel. I've like kind of gotten a little bit of more knowledge into how FanDuel works, and I think FanDuel's a really sharp book. FanDuel opened this at 25.5, and they have not dropped it since. So I always like finding lines that FanDuel has a little bit higher, and they're firm on that price because they have not dropped it below 25.5, and they still
sweet.
haven't. So
Yeah.
I think the 24 to get that staple of 25 plus is really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that look a lot. Um, I have a Knicks prop as well. It should potentially even help your prop a little bit. Unfortunately, you'll have to go to Barstool for crappy odds if you want the same number as I got. I'm also cool one step up, which I think most of you would have to play. So I went Josh Hart over 22.5 PRA, but that moved to 23.5 pretty much everywhere you're gonna look. I think it's minus 134 on Barstool for 22.5. I'm not really opposed to the extra one. I think it's minus 104 for 23.5 now on FanDuel, which is pretty nice. Just what a great pickup for the Knicks he's been. He's their utility knife. He's had a great series. He's hit this in 2 out of 3 in the first game. He missed on the hook, so he had 22, or I guess he missed by 2 of the current line. But I mean, in the last 2 games, he's crushed this line. He had 34 and 29 in the past 2 games. Field goal volume's high, at least relative for Josh Hart. He's taking 12, 11, 12. Field goal attempts, 3-pointers have been pretty high volume again for Josh Hart. 19 rebound chances a game, 8 potential assists in the series. So I just really like the volume across the board. I think that there's 3 different ways he can rack up stats, and I think he's bound to go off in at least one of those areas and do, be pretty serviceable in the other 2, worst case scenario. So really nice number. I haven't quite deduced what I think Quickly's absence will result in. A lot of me is tempted to kind of mess around with Quentin Grimes props. I think Quentin could have a nice role in this game, but I've messed around with this series and I've tried to get creative a few times, and I've been burned on guys that just didn't end up getting that many minutes. One thing with Hart, this guy's going to be out there, and I think there's not really any reason to sub him off. Maybe you sub him off to get Grimes a few extra minutes, but I really anticipate at 38 to 42 minutes if we have a close game in this one.
I mean, have you heard the soundbite of Josh Hart with Tibbs where he said you're gonna come back
I'll just
in?
play the whole game or something like
He
that.
said I can play all 48. Yeah, Josh Hart. I will say, I feel like it's weird, but the hustle guy like him is almost like a dying breed in the NBA, and I don't get it because I would be so quick to pick up Josh Hart for any franchise that I'm working with, but
100%.
yeah, it's a really weird breed that you've been seeing with some of these guys. But yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah, yeah. So I really like this. I think if I had to choose, this might be my favorite prop of the NBA slate. Yeah, I really like this one. So let's go Josh Hart.
Yeah, and hey, give him some assist to Brunson. They have that Villanova 2-man game going for
man.
themselves.
Maybe he gets a little if Brunson subs off and he's still on, maybe he takes on that like primary distributor role. Probably only would be for a few minutes of the game, but I would take that few minutes. That would be a pretty important few minutes for me. So yeah, really like this prop for Hart.
Yeah, I also root for him and Brunson because whenever I would go to Villanova games and watch them at Nova, it was always fun. So that's like a side thing to root for. I think they're awesome to watch. But yeah, I think we covered this game pretty well. So I have no plays in the late game, and it's mostly because I don't know what it is. I have such a hard time sometimes betting on Laker props because I don't know what it is with them at times. I just feel like it's a weird team. It's a team that I haven't. It's probably my least bet team on the entire season.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Interesting.
I keep track of my bets and this and that, and I think the Lakers are probably the least bet I've team. So that I don't know what it is, but I'm not gonna change it now, and especially when things get sharper. If I don't think I have a good read on something, there's no need to force it just because there's a 10 o'clock game and I want to have action. So, this is all you, man. This is gonna be your game to destroy here.
There you go. Sounds good. This one is going to be fairly anticipatory as well, rather than a numbers one. Very similar to Jimmy, just anticipating a superstar to kind of have his best game of the series. Chalky as fuck. Steph Curry over 30.5 points. This feels like this just screams the Steph Curry game to me. He's played okay, I guess, in this series. Last game he stunk for sure. The prior game he had 20 points, but he had 12 assists. So I really like, I liked what he did to adjust to kind of deal with the coverage that they had on him in game two. I don't know if anybody saw it. They had a press conference with him, and they were asking him about, what are they going to do today to adjust? And he just kind of had this smirk on his face that like he was super excited about the adjustment they're looking to make. I saw Reeves covering him a lot last game. And I think the thought process was they bring Draymond in for a screen quite often, which then they'll switch and get the defender they want on Curry. Most of the times it's been Jared Vanderbilt. I kind of just wonder if they just let Curry play a little bit more one-on-one here. And if he does, good luck, Reeves. I think he can definitely cook them. So just generally in the playoffs, I like chalky guys coming off stinker games. So he has 20 and 23 in his last two games, not really scoring, and they just got absolutely embarrassed.
Yeah, that was a crazy game. That was
What a terrible game, man. I hope we don't have another blowout like that. He's only played 62 minutes in the last two games, so playoff wise, this leg should be pretty damn fresh. Their backs against the wall. They do not want to go down 3-1, which it was a pretty obvious point. So as long as the game's competitive, he's just another guy. I really like targeting high minute players, which a lot of the studs are. So it's not like he's any different than a Clay or Wiggins, but I just like targeting guys that aren't going to come off the floor very often. If this one stays close, I think we get 38 minutes out of Steph. And I just trust Steve Kerr / the Warriors to adjust. And Ham, I think the jury's still out. I think he's actually a pretty decent coach. I've kind of gone back and forth on this throughout the season. I don't think he's a bad coach, but I think Kerr is better. I think obviously Curry's so fucking good. After 3 games going under, I just have a really, really hard time imagining he goes under for a 4th straight. And one thing that's this is almost like an unofficial point on this. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. I always find it interesting when a guy's kind of gone way under certain lines, yet they keep the line the same, if not even bump it a little bit for a specific spot. And that's kind of what happened here with Steph. Is like this line, it never really moved. It never really budged. Granted, it is Steph at the end of the day, but it kind of indicates that the sports books are anticipating, somewhat of a blowout game. Because if you look at his stats for the series, he's only averaging, I actually don't know off the top of my head. I think he's 27, 23, and 20. So, low 20s, and they still have him at 30.5. So it feels like there's some anticipation there from the books themselves. Almost Dylan Cease-esque, like, he never really came. Well, I guess last time he did hit it, but the line hasn't really budged too much despite his poor performances. So it seems like they're kind of just anticipating the Curry game, and I think so too. I think this has Curry game written all over it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's one of those things, and someone in the chat just did mention that they have Torres, McCutchen, and Zunino for home runs, and I would love nothing more in this world than a first at bat dinger from Mike Zunino rather than it being a fucking whiff. I would really hope it's just a dinger. So I appreciate that someone else said that. And then if you want, do you want to wrap up the NBA slate with your last play of the day?
Yeah, absolutely. So all right, I got one more for everybody. It's D'Angelo Russell over 22.5 points plus assist. This one's kind of funny. I feel like a lot's gone against him in this series, yet he still hit this in 2 out of 3. He's not made a single free throw the whole series. He's never been a huge free throw guy, but he averaged 2.9 free throw attempts a game in a Laker uniform. So I think we're due for some positive regression there. He only hit 1 3 in games 1 and 2 combined. So, and despite that, he's still over in 2 out of 3. And he's played under 30 minutes in back-to-back games. So again, fresh legs should be there. Oddly enough, he has a higher usage rate than Anthony Davis so far in the series. He's got 23.4% usage rate, which is it's funny. It's technically third on the team, and Tristan Thompson is number 2 in the 16 minutes that he's played. But I'm going to go ahead and just kind of scrap Tristan Thompson's garbage minutes out of the way. And I'm going to call him number 2 on the Lakers in usage at 23.4, a little bit behind LeBron. He's getting 10.3 potential assists, 14.7 field goal attempts, 5.3 threes. And, last game, he finally went off from behind the arc, which is something that he's been fairly consistent with this postseason at home. In the Memphis series, he shot much better from 3 at home than he did on the road. So kind of hoping / anticipating better performance from behind the arc yet again. So like I said, he also averaged 3 free throws a game as a Laker. So hopefully we'll be able to steal a couple extra at the line tonight to make up for his 0 made free throws so far this series. So the ball's in his hands quite a bit. He's a pretty high usage guy for this Lakers team, and 22.5 is a very achievable line of points plus assists for D-Russ. So heavy volume day. We got some fucking plays today. Oh, I don't hear Brian. Brian, your mic's off.
I turned my mic off. I'm sorry. There was a siren in my neighborhood, so I turned it off. And I didn't even realize that I still didn't turn it back on. That's on me. But I was just gonna say, to kind of wrap up, I do like D'Angelo Russell there. I think he's been really effective running that point guard for the Lakers, and I think that should be a fun game. Both games should be fun. And then I will kind of wrap up the show here with the Pickett Popular Plays, one of our sponsors here. Looking at the most bet players, I'm going to go through it kind of quickly because I don't want to keep people too long. But surprisingly, Julius Randle is the first. So my guess is, I'm not even going to look yet, but I'm guessing it's his rebounds. I know there's a lot of people on his rebounds, 8.5. That is the most bet play on the Pickett Sports app, is Julius Randle rebounds. I like it. I mean, this is definitely not Mitchell Robinson's matchup. He's really kind of struggled here and there. But yeah, this is one where I think Randall's biggest thing is rebounding is such a hustle stat, and he's been doing well with getting the boards, but he just got to keep that intensity. And I think double is even, I think, plus 190 or plus 150. I think it's a good spot for him, but I'm not sure if you had any thoughts there.
I want to break out a tinfoil hat on this one. This one is suspect as hell to me, kind of like the opposite of the Steph line. Like, he's kind of gone way under, and the line didn't really move off that. Actually, I think it did open at 29.5. It moved up to 30.5, but it didn't drop significantly just because he'd gone way under 3 times. Julius Randle's been crushing this and rebounds plus assists in this series. So why didn't this one move? This one's funky as shit to me, man. This
probably because they know that Jalen Brunson's going to have like 6 putbacks on the offensive glass, and it's going to be a whole thing. And
that's possible. It must be the Brunson factor for sure.
They know that Brunson's going to score 40, and somehow that correlates to Randle not getting rebounds. I don't know how, but
there you go.
That's what I'm sticking with here.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people listening have bet this. I am cheering for you. Personally, I think this line smells like absolute shit. On to player number 2.
LeBron James points, most bet for him, which surprisingly there's more bets on LeBron's points than Randle's rebounds. Yes, there is. Is there a boost somewhere? Does someone know if there might be LeBron boost, but
there's something for that game on there's a superstar boost. No, it's Stephen Clay on DraftKings.
Interesting. So everyone's trusting LeBron James's points, which I agree with. I guess the biggest factor there is that my guess is that people do not want to fade Anthony Davis in the zigzag theory. So sometimes people just hate betting under. So rather than taking an 80 under, they're likely pivoting to LeBron James over. It's LeBron James. I can't really comment yay or nay on that. If you're taking the over on LeBron James in any single playoff game, you almost can't really, hate on it, because it just, that star power. You mentioned the star power, and it's definitely there with LeBron.
Yeah, no doubt. Not mad at that one at all. I do have a little heart. I've had a pretty tough time juggling who I think is going to be the dominant force for the Lakers, whether it be LeBron or AD. So I don't believe I've touched either of them the whole series. So again, I don't have a play on either player. I've been kind of struggling, even though AD has made it easy on us in hindsight, just going every other game he plays well. But it's LeBron, it's the playoffs. It feels almost Curry-ish. Like he hasn't really been hitting this line at a high rate either. That line stayed pretty steady. Feels like a little bit of anticipation from the books to go off. It's at home. Big game. It's so silly to say because every game's so big, but this will really make or break the series for the Lakers if they win or lose this game. So obviously, it's the highest stakes game so far this postseason, which I mean every next game is, but just a big game. Feels like it could definitely be a LeBron night.
Yeah, and then the last person is my guy here, JB, Jalen Brunson. But surprisingly, his points are second bet. Rebounds are heavily bet for him, which is funny because his rebounding has actually been decent. And I think he's been doing good at rebounding. So it looks like the pickup community is betting on over 3.5 rebounds for Brunson, and some people are doing a lot of alt same game parlays where they're doing 2+ rebounds. I mean, I don't hate it. I mean, there's so many missed shots in these defensive matchups, and with Bam Adebayo down low, and Mitch, Julius Randle, Hemi Butler, all these guys fighting for rebounds down low. You also get some bricked threes from Sheen and some other Miami Heat players. I do think Brunson has been rebounding well, so I don't hate that. I just think it's so hard to trust rebounds at times because you're paying a lot of juice for it for a guy that you're hoping the ball bounces the right way to, because he's not necessarily the kind of guy that's going to be super aggressive and actively making rebounds for himself.
Yeah, I mean 5.56, numbers definitely are there to support it. An alt look, he hasn't gone under 2 the whole postseason, averaged 3.5.
He also just plays so many minutes.
I get it. Yeah, he's going to be out there. Miami shoots a good amount of threes, so he can get those longer distance rebounds. I'm not necessarily running to go take it personally, but I could definitely understand the angle.
Yeah, and then I think that's the 3 pick popular plays. And to recap, I'm just gonna go over our plays, and I think this is a good show. We kind of were a little bit efficient there, especially for having 10 total picks.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna recap my little slate of 3 picks. I have 2 MLB. I did a same game parlay in the Guardians game of Tyler Bybee, 5+ strikeouts, and Joey Wentz under 4.5 strikeouts. Same game parlay at plus 122. It's plus 125 now, so you guys can get 3 cents more than me, which is amazing. Honestly, you guys can buy like a gumball there. And then my other MLB play is Dylan Cease over 5.5 strikeouts. As I said before, depending on the juice you can find, don't be too adventurous with risking like over 1.5 units on this, because who knows with this guy and his Red Bull addiction. And then for the NBA slate, I only have 1 play, and it's Jalen Brunson over 24.5 points on MGM, Caesars, or Kambi Books.
Sounds good, dude. Hell of a card there. Mine's fairly long, so bear with me for a second. I took Mitch Keller over 5.5 strikeouts. That's kind of unplayable unless you have Caesars. Last I checked, it was minus 127 on Caesars. Pretty much unplayable elsewhere. So hopefully, if you're listening, you do have Caesars as an option. I then went Tyler Bibby. I'm gonna just be ignorant, just call him the wrong name. Knowingly, over 5.5 strikeouts. So I agree with the angle Brian has as well there. So I really like Tyler. My third MLB and final MLB play was Zach Gallen over 6.5 strikeouts. Moving on to NBA, I took Jimmy Butler over 28.5 points. In the same game, I took Josh Hart over 22.5 PRA. I'm cool with that up to 23.5. Then I took Steph Curry over 30.5 points. Then I took D'Angelo Russell over 22.5 points plus assist. So I think my biggest card in Ryan and Brian Talk Sports history. So let's have some fun.
Do it. We appreciate everyone here. We got some subs on here. We got some gifted things. It was really nice. I mean, we had big cards. We were a little bit more focused. We had some good trivia.
Yeah.
I mean, looking back, our show used to be terrible, and now it's average. So
there you go.
We've really come a long way. Being called average is
big strides.
And then tomorrow, if you are betting on home runs, a lot of people in the chat have been asking about home run plays. tomorrow is
There you
Dinger
go.
Tuesday, so DJ and Eli and some of the other guys from Gold Boy Networks do host a Dinger Tuesday play at this time tomorrow, so it'd be around 5 o'clock.
Oh, yeah.
Sadly, I'm not invited on there. I got told they called me problem, took down the quality of the show, whatever that means. But it is a good show to watch. So if you guys like home runs, tune in tomorrow. Go Boys Network for the Dinger Tuesday show.
Hell yeah. Yeah, we appreciate everybody joining us. This is a really nice slate tonight. So hopefully we can make some money, have some fun. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks to Pickett Sports for sponsoring, and we'll see you next week.